Good morning, everybody. I see that some of you are connecting. I invite you all to mute your microphone just as of now. Then there will be space for questions later on. Very good. All right. Yes, and while we get other people that are in the lobby, then we can let them in manually. So good morning to everybody again. Thank you very much for connecting and for registering for our first webinar. We're very pleased to have you here and to see you here. This webinar is going to be the first of two webinars on the European Universities Alliances. We want to tackle and to address the question of whether there could be an opportunity for Catholic universities. We have a lot of participants registered from Catholic universities. I will give very briefly the floor to Montserrat. I'm Emilio Dogliani, of course, from COMECE, the Commission of the Bishops' Conference of the European Union. We have been in touch with you regarding the registration. I give you the floor, Montserrat, so introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emilio. So, well, let me mention that at the Federation, we follow very closely the way in which European Universities Alliances are transforming the European higher education landscape. And we consider that it was timely to organize a series of webinars to deepen our understanding of such unique entities. And this wish has become a reality thanks to our collaboration with you, with COMECE, and also thanks to the valuable participation of all the invited speakers. So on behalf of IFCU, the International Federation of Catholic Universities, I wish to sincerely thank our guests for being with us today, and I also want to extend my gratitude to the audience that accompanies us.
Thank you very much, Montse. I also extend my gratitude to all of you. The webinar today, I will just give a few technical instructions. We're going to record. The webinar is being recorded as we speak now, because then later we want to publish it on our IFCU and COMECE websites and media channels. So if you don't wish to appear in the videos that we're going to publish, you are free and most welcome to switch off your cameras. And I will give you also an information that is valid now, but also through the whole webinar today and until the end of the webinar. Please don't hesitate to write in the chat any questions that you might have, and to already think about the questions that you might have, so that you can ask them at the end of the webinar. The agenda, you will have seen it from the poster and the concept note. We will start today with some opening remarks and welcome remarks by Father Manuel Barrios from COMECE, our General Secretary of COMECE. Then we will have an overview of the European Universities Initiative with Ms. Joanna de Wandeler from the European Commission. And then we'll start the second part a bit more oriented on to testimonies, and where we'll have a panel discussion with Catholic universities that are currently part of European Universities Alliances. And then we will come to a close. I will then not wait any further and give the floor to Father Manuel Barrios, the General Secretary of COMECE, the Commission of the Bishops' Conferences of the European Union, for his welcome remarks. Please, Father Manuel, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emilio. So, dear friends, I want to welcome wholeheartedly all the participants to this webinar, the co-organizers of the International Federation of Catholic Universities, IFCU, and our guest speakers, both from the European Commission and Catholic universities. I am Father Manuel Barrios. I'm the General Secretary of COMECE since 2019, which is the Commission of the Bishops' Conferences of the European Union. It's an official representation of the Church in the European Union that has a secretariat based in Brussels, and we have the mission of maintaining an open dialogue with transparent dialogue. There's an article in the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, Article 17, that establishes this dialogue between the churches and the European Union. So we have this mission of maintaining a dialogue with the European Union, following also the European integration process, and the Church has done this since the beginning, and to monitor and contribute in the way we can to policy making. And one of the ways we do this is through events like the one that is taking place today, in which we bring together Catholic stakeholders. Sometimes also we open ourselves to the ecumenical perspective, so we bring also all the stakeholders that are from other churches, together with policy makers, with representatives of the institutions. And we do this on issues that are of concern to us, to the Catholic teaching of the Church, and in which we also think that our expertise can contribute. Among others, we work very extensively, and this is also thanks to the work that Emilio is doing as our policy advisor for education, culture, and youth. We work on these aspects, these areas that are very important for the Church. Sometimes they are not a direct competence of the European Union, but they are extremely important for the Church. So we think that it's very essential for us to follow what is being done in the European Union level on education, culture, and youth. So I'm very pleased to open this first webinar with these welcome remarks. I believe that especially in these times that we're living, so challenging, of very geopolitical tensions and social polarization, universities and more in general higher education has a very important task, and we all know this. I think we're called to be bridge builders and teach the young generations to be searchers of truth, being able to think critically, and we know how it's easy to manipulate people. And I think also, and this is more my perspective, I think we also have to teach the young generation the recompense that comes with knowledge. Knowledge in itself is gratifying. It has its recompense with itself. I think those words of Jesus, that the truth will set you free, are really important in these times of authoritarianism that endanger our democracies and our values. So we need this truth that makes us free from manipulation. And I think in particular Catholic universities that promote a vision that puts into practice that integral development of the human person that is so endangered in our world, where the utilitarian logic prevails and a culture of waste, indifference, and power is rapidly catching on. And this is something that our late Pope Francis warned us in many occasions, this culture of discarding people. And I find also this concept of integral development. We look for the integral development of the human person. I know it's a difficult mission if we see it in the context of what is happening on the global stage. New conflicts, and these days they have intensified, economic wars between states that are a real change to the multilateralism that we have created after the wars. And this creates a difficult environment for our universities, whose DNA is mission, and mission has always been centered on collaboration and partnership. We address some of these issues and try to focus on some avenues for solutions in our event on the geopolitics of higher education last year in Brussels. And we have the recording on our website if you want to look at it. Universities are much more than places of knowledge. In this respect, the Holy Father mentioned to the International Federation of Catholic Universities, our co-organizers in this event today, last year, that an educational enterprise is not only based on perfect programs, efficient equipment, or good business practices. A greater passion must animate the university, as evidenced in a shared search for truth, a greater horizon of meaning, lived out in a community of knowledge where the liberality of love is palpable. So this is the end of this quotation of Pope Francis. In these complex circumstances, we should therefore tap into the full potential of universities as places where the search for knowledge leading to the common good is passed on, and where your students are taught to cooperate and grow in the fruitful vocation, as Pope Francis said. Catholic universities, more than others, are also called to give hope to young people, especially in the context of this jubilee year that we're celebrating. They must guide them with their values and leadership to become engaged in their societies and communities. Hope was indeed the main theme of our last event, our event last November, which brought together European officials and members of the European Parliament and researchers to discuss visions of hope for Europe. So today's webinar is centered on a specific initiative of the European institutions, that of the European universities, and how Catholic universities can take part in this alliance. This event demonstrates the importance that the Church gives to EU initiatives and more generally highlights its mission to accompany the process of European integration. We know that EU universities, especially small and medium-sized ones, might find it difficult to take part in EU-founded initiatives, given their lack of administrative resources. Yesterday's launch of the Choose Europe initiative by Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the Commission, aims to boost the EU research and innovation capabilities by investing more in scientists and making it more attractive for them to work in our union. A very important issue in this priority that the Commission has given itself of enhancing our competitiveness. I am convinced that this and other initiatives, such as the European Universities Alliance that we are commenting today, can be the framework where Catholic universities can contribute with their unique mission and identity for the benefit of young students, researchers, and academics. So I look very much forward to this webinar today, where we can see where we comply with our mission as COMECE to bring together what the European institutions are doing and Catholic stakeholders to see how also as Catholic Church we can contribute to the common good of our European society. So thank you very much for being here and welcome to all. And I pass again the floor to Emilio.
Thank you very much, Father Manuel, for your welcome remarks. Without further ado, I give the floor to Ms. Johanna de Wandeler, Policy Officer for Higher Education in DG EAC in the European Commission. We asked Johanna to actually help us in understanding the initiative of the European University Alliances, their vision, their purpose, but also the higher implications that they have in the higher education landscape and what is going to happen in the future as well, if we can get an idea of what is going to be the future of this initiative. So, Johanna, I'll give you the floor immediately, and thank you already for being here with us today.
Good morning again, everyone, and thank you very much for the warm welcome. I'm really happy to be here. I know many of you are already a part of the alliances, so you know the initiative very well. One of the key objectives that we're having is also to reach out to the broader community and to ensure that all the innovative activities done within the alliances are also shared with the broader higher education system. And many thanks to Father Manuel for the inspiring words and for sharing the commitment for academic values, which is really very important for the European Commission, including for the research part. You mentioned the conference that took place a couple of days ago, and it was actually yesterday in Paris. It is actually a very important and strategic moment in time now with the new MFF. So I'm happy to share a few words. I will be very brief. I want to give you a little bit of a context of what it is the initiative, what we are aiming to achieve with it, what are the political grounds for, what the political context, and also the grounds for the reflection on the future of the initiative. So I will share my slides. I don't think I will see you while I'm doing this, so don't hesitate to interrupt if anything goes wrong or if you have questions. So I will put my presentation on the screen. I hope it works. You let me know.
Yes, it works.
Yes, it works. Perfect. So my name is Joanna de Wandelaar. I'm a policy officer for higher education in DG EAC in the Commission. We are the unit that is responsible for the entire policy coordination of higher education policies in the European Commission. We are, for example, the ones working on the European Strategy for Universities that was published a few years ago, on a numerous set of council recommendations on micro-credentials, on learning for sustainability, on transnational cooperation, and more recently, we are also the unit that developed the proposal on the European degree, and also accompanied by a council recommendation on quality assurance. So this is just to situate a bit our work. Let me see. I hope it works. Yes. So as Father Manuel was saying, higher education institutions are not just for learning, they're also for elevating the spirits and bringing European closer together. And we think that the European University Alliances have had this impact of bringing more cohesion, reinforcing the higher education institutions that are part of it, but also bringing changes at systemic level. We have now over 570 higher education institutions in Europe that are together the home of half of the European students. They are covering 35 countries. And the main key feature of the European University Alliances is that they're not projects, they're not short-term focused cooperation endeavors. They are really something that goes beyond this project logic. They are alliances with a longer strategic perspective at institutional level, so embarking the institution as a whole. So this is the key element distinguishing them from the rest of the other cooperation models, which are supported under Erasmus Plus and other programs, which are of course extremely valuable. Now we have the objective with the alliance is to achieve this systemic and sustainable impact. So again, it's not something that we can achieve in a couple of years. We need maybe 10, maybe 20 years. Here you have a snapshot of some details of how they are implemented, how many institutions are represented from the different regions of Europe. So you can see it is geographically balanced initiative, and that they are also very well anchored in their regional innovation ecosystems, cooperating with over 2,000 associated partners that are representing other higher education institutions, but also, I don't know, the private sector, industry, SMEs, also regional, national authorities, etc. So first feature, so this long-term engagement for cooperation. Second feature of the alliances is this inter-university campuses. So what we're trying to achieve is to facilitate the journey of the students of the staff, so that they feel at home in all of the universities that are part of the alliances. And of course, this is, let's say, supported by governance structures, cooperation mechanisms that are supporting this inter-university campuses. They are building on, let's say, the strengths of each of the partners and offering together what one single university cannot offer alone. And what the objective is of this inter-university campuses is to have the possibility of what we call the flexible learning pathways, so that students can build their curricula. They can also have access to innovative innovative pedagogies, challenge-based approaches. I was mentioning the link with the private sector. This is very important. And of course, a transdisciplinary approach. Mobility is also a key element for this interinstitutional campuses, not only for students, but also for staff. We want really to see more mobility happening in the alliances, and of course the skills that the students are gaining through these innovative pedagogies, through these personalized curricula in these interinstitutional campuses are the skills that we hope will prepare them for the future. Now, really a snapshot, I will not go into the detail. This slide is really to show you the evolution, so where we are in time. We have started the initiative as a pilot with a mandate of the heads of state under the previous Erasmus Plus program. So we had 2 pilot calls, and then into this current Erasmus program 2021-2027, we moved into what we call the fully fledged phase. We have a budget of over 1 billion euros, and you can see that the growth of the number of alliances and a number of universities involved grew exponentially. We had a target objective in the European Strategy for Universities from 2022, which was to achieve at least 60 European university alliances by mid-2024. We, of course, exceeded that. Now we're having 65 alliances. Now, sorry, all okay? Yeah, can I continue?
All fine, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Please.
Great. Sorry, I'm hearing some background noise, and as I cannot see you, good. So moving into the future very quickly. It is very important to know that we are having the political commitment at the highest level of the Commission for the development of the European University Alliances. So in the political guidelines of the President von der Leyen, it is clearly mentioned out of the 1,000 of, let's say, initiatives that the Commission is funding, that the university European alliances have to be strengthened because they are really seen as a key instrument to deliver on competitiveness of the higher education institutions and sector in Europe, and also competitiveness of Europe through the attraction of talent, through skills development, through reinforcement of research, higher education, and business cooperation. And this vision of President von der Leyen, it is reflected both in the mission letter for Roxana Mazzato, which is our Executive Vice President for Social Rights and Skills, Quality Jobs and Preparedness, and also in the mission letter of Ekaterina Zaharyeva, who is our Commissioner for Startups, Research and Innovation. So really, there is this political will to have these nexus of higher education, business, and research and innovation cooperating together, and European university alliances are seen as key vehicles and instruments to deliver on that. Of course, from our perspective, what we need our help, your help with, your help as universities, higher education institutions in Europe, is to enter in a dialogue with the policy makers at national level to support a strengthened Erasmus. As you can see, there is a strong political commitment on this direction, but we know that the negotiations on the next MFF will be very difficult. As Father Manuel explained, the situation, the geopolitical situation is very difficult, very tense. So the next MFF has a lot of priorities to cover. And therefore, we think that it is worthwhile to fight for a strengthened Erasmus to support not only the European University Alliances, but also broader other type of cooperation in higher education, and of course mobility for everyone. So this is our key goal. Now, the hot topic is the union of skills. The union of skills is really the human angle, if you wish, the human element of the policies of the European Commission for the next legislature of the current Commission. Here we have, it has been brought by Executive Vice President Roxana Musatu on the 5th of March, and it's really looking into reinforcing competitiveness, responding to the needs for green digital transition, restoring the independence of Europe in key strategic sector through talent attractions and skill development, with an approach that is looking from early childhood education, from basic skills to very advanced skills, of course, happening in universities, that is looking into lifelong learning, reskilling, upskilling, is looking also to employment policies, and really try to put a common vision. It is, again, very important as a political signal that the European University Alliances are mentioned here, specifically with a reference to the investment pathway. The investment pathway is the reflection we're currently having with the alliances and the broader higher education sector and the member states on how to ensure, more coherence between the logic, the long-term strategic logic of the alliances I was mentioning in the beginning, with the fact that their current funding model is really project-based. So we want to have a more coherent funding approach, a longer-term perspective, and of course, stimulate the synergies with research and innovation, but also with other sector across all missions of universities, and of course, looking into synergies with the national funding and regional funding. So this conversation on the alliances and the role of the alliances has to be also seen in the broader context of this union of skills. I will very quickly, not going into the detail of it. I'm sure you heard a lot about this initiative already, and I invite you to look on the webpage to read the fact sheet. It has 4 main strands. One is building skills to support people to have better jobs, better quality of life. Another element is to tap into the potential of reskilling and upskilling in Europe, with a focus on the green and digital transition. The third pillar is about mobility. So how can the talent and the brain circulate across Europe, how we can get correct recognition, how we can find brain drain, etc. These are all initiatives under this third pillar. And of course, another important pillar is about attracting and developing and retaining talent, for which Europe has to become a sort of a talent magnet. European University Alliances are referred to in this union of skills as key instruments for different things, pooling resources in higher education. This will, of course, attract and develop talent. So basically, the European University Alliances are seen as relevant for the development of all activities under these 4 pillars. They are really vehicles to look into how higher education system can go forward and contribute to the competitiveness. Now, I will try to be very brief. In January, we have put together a study on the outcomes and transformational potential of the European University Initiative. The idea that I'm trying to convey here is that we are looking into the future with the union of skills on which the alliances have to deliver, with the reflections on the new Erasmus program, also with the reflections on the new MFF, on this investment pathway for the alliances I was mentioning, but we don't want to start from scratch. So we want really to look into what has been done, what can still be improved, what are the challenges, and really build on what already exists. So we had this study that was published in January. Basically, what we learned is that you cannot build a European University Alliance overnight. It really takes time. It takes a lot of investment because this is a completely new model of long-term strategic cooperation that is going beyond what we've seen before in project-based approaches. What is key about the alliances is also that they are conciliating excellence and inclusion. I was mentioning geographical balance, but is also a matter of inclusion in terms of types of higher education institutions. So all kind of types of higher education institutions are welcome. And excellence. It is key that the alliances are putting together really top-notch universities across Europe with smaller universities that have less maybe research capacity that can really work together. And this is what actually made the success of the alliances so far. Inclusion also in terms of diversity of cooperation model. The initiative is completely bottom up. So it was absolutely up to the alliances, to the consortia to build very rich and diverse cooperation models and focus on really what makes their strengths. And of course, they have what we have seen so far is that the alliances are going far more than a typical cooperation in terms of depth, but also in terms of impact on the higher education system. So here I will, please be reassured, I will not go into the detail of all these benefits that are listed in the study. I invite you to have a look if you wish. What we have seen is that it really made a difference for the students with a richer educational offer, also for the staff that had more expanded opportunities. For the partners institutions, it was really a game changer that basically put a lot of institutions on the map, even with impact sometimes in terms of attractiveness on a global scale and rankings, etc. So it really modified the partner institutions' way of seeing themselves and investing into this cooperation. External stakeholders and society. We have seen that, well, a nice thing you can read in the report is the fact that, for example, private companies are more keen on working with universities that are part of the alliances. They really see an added value for them to cooperate more. So this is extremely important for us to reinforce this cooperation with the industry, with the public organization, with the civil society. This is what will make the curricula more relevant and will help developing skills that are relevant for a better life and better jobs in the future. For the wider higher education system, what I think, in my view, is really the key development is the fact that not only the higher education institutions that are part of the alliances constructed different ways of cooperating with their peers in their national higher education systems, but also they succeeded in bringing the challenges for transnational cooperation to the forefront of the political agenda. And we have seen that actually things moved in national legislations. They have also managed to remove barriers, at least to start a conversation. They also brought some dynamics into the implementation of Bologna tools. And now, for example, we are having this conversation on the European degree. This, I think personally, it would have never happened without the role of the European University Alliances. Of course, and I will close with that, this is, we are not there yet on all fronts. There are a lot of great things happening, but we also have seen a lot of challenges ahead. I was just mentioning the legal and administrative barriers. Things are not solved on that front. We are working constantly with the higher education sector, with the alliances and with the member states to try and progress on that. Now, internally within the alliances, what we have seen as major challenges relate to the fact that we have an awareness problem. So the students, not all students, are actually aware that their university is part of the alliance and are not actually benefiting from the opportunities for them. So we think that increased access and increased awareness is really key for the future. And so are let's say progress towards the student mobility target and other important elements. So here, what I want to say is that there is a scale there is a scale dynamic to be operated. So we started with pilots, then we went into this development, deepening phase of the cooperation. Now the alliances, they all have sort of installed governance models, at least the ones in the first generation. Now we really would like to see an upscale of what they're doing to really reach out to more students, more faculties, to see more joint programs, more micro-credential, etc. Yes, and then I will stop here for now. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to take a question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for your presence and for your presentation as well. I will then, as I said before, because Joanna has to leave us almost now, so in a very short time, I will open the floor, maybe very briefly, to whatever questions you might have after her presentation. So you can write them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and speak and unmute yourself and speak. So it can be on the presentation that she has just presented, maybe some concepts that she has mentioned. It can be also in the broader picture. Don't be shy. Francisco Mendes Palma, please, you can speak.
Good morning. I hope everybody can hear me and see. I thank you for the forum and also the presentation. I'm from Universidade Católica Portuguesa in Portugal, and we are members of Transnational for Europe, one of the alliances that exists. And my question directly for what you mentioned, Joanna, is what is foreseen nowadays for changes in Erasmus supporting mobility of students? Because we are facing, I believe, over Europe, lack of enthusiasm, also mentioned because of lack of financing the mobility of students, and for that they are not eager to participate in the activities, namely the activities regarding within the alliance. That's one question. Another one is more for the future, which is, you mentioned that the alliances are relevant namely for promoting research. Nowadays, the finance that they have is under Erasmus, so it's only for teaching, broadly speaking, so research is out of the scope. Nevertheless, if we want to promote the union of skills and others, like research, joint research is relevant. So if there are some ideas, guidelines that we should be aware for the near future in what concerns the cooperation on the research, that for the moment it's outside the scope of the European alliances. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco. Please, Joanna, feel free to reply.
Thank you very much. So I will start with the second question. So I apologize if I maybe expressed myself wrongly. The core mission of the alliances is education. And our objective is, for the future reflections on this investment pathway, is really to look into all missions. So to also look into the research and innovation. You know that there have been the SWAFs calls, there has been the Excellence Initiative on the horizon. So there have been attempts of support under Horizon. By the way, there is another call under the Excellence Initiative that is now open. There is, I'm making some promotion. There is DGRTD is organizing on the 16th of May an info day about that call. The objective is that the instruments that were in place until now were not super successful and were not fully responding to the alliance's will to have a more coherent cooperation across the missions. So this is our goal now. This is what we are working on, to develop an instrument that would be on that that would be on that line. Now, as I was telling you, the discussions on the MFF, you know as well as I do, you also read the press, they are very difficult. On the research program, this is also a very difficult conversation now, a lot of mobilization for the higher education. So we don't know for the moment what the structure of the MFF will be. We don't know how the programs would fit this architecture, whether there will be an FP10, in which form, and when we will have more stability, we will actually continue the conversation and we'll be able to make something, to make some concrete proposal actually. So for the moment, we are brainstorming on this. We are working on this with colleagues, but actually what our EVP is always saying is that it's good to speak about the money and about the perspectives and how to attract more money, but what she wants to have first is really strong arguments on how the alliances can really support the development of Europe, the development of the higher education sector, how they can support skills, competitiveness, etc. And then basically the money will follow, but we don't know exactly in which form. What we are very strongly advocating for is a strong Erasmus that will continue to support the alliances and also other types of cooperation. But the alliances, they will need now to prove actually their value. We are moving out of this piloting phase, of deepening phase, into this consolidation phase, if I can call it like this, where the alliances really have to be strong and to really upscale their activities. On the mobility, yes, we are aware, and that's why, again, we need a stronger Erasmus. We need instruments, not only financial instruments, not only more money, but we also need instruments that are actually accompanying people with fewer opportunities, those that are maybe not the usual target of Erasmus mobility. And we need also to find a balance. We have had discussions with national agencies for higher education on how to find a balance between mobility within Erasmus in the broader sense and mobility within the alliances, and how this should work together. There is no miracle or perfect solution because the situations are very different, but we are really having this conversation and looking into mechanisms of attracting students, making them aware and offering them possibilities of mobility, but also internationalization in a broader sense. You know, we are, of course, very attached to physical mobility, long-term mobility, but we have seen the alliances developed an excellent offer of internationalizations of all sorts of short-term, flexible mobilities, embedded mobilities in different ways, in different curricula, etc. So we are really looking into that. So I hope this responds at least partially. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I think you have to go now, so I don't think there is time for the last question. I'm sorry for Antonia Caro
Maybe
Gonzalez,
2
who
minutes.
wanted also to ask
I
a
could
question.
stay for another 2 minutes if I don't want to.
Shall we go ahead, Montserrat? Yes? Okay, very good. Then, Antonia, please, yours is the floor.
You're muted, Antonia.
You're muted, yes. I cannot hear you.
No.
We still cannot hear you.
Maybe Antonia could write her question on the chat.
No.
Now? Okay.
Now it's good. Now
yeah,
I hear
okay,
you.
now it was working, yeah.
So the alignment of stars. Yeah, I'm Toni Caro, and I have been working in internationalization for universities and modernization for 25 years within universities, and now being external advisor. I was one of the person supporting the Commission in 2018 in putting together the call for proposals. And I have been working with many universities and alliances in making progress towards the impact. My question is very, very short. and is to you how we can support the European Commission, how can we support each person in each of the universities to believe in the massive change that we need to make to really move forward universities to become the vehicles for the union of skills, for competitiveness, for making the bridge between universities and the companies. So you were mentioning many of the things, and now we have this challenge of all of us working towards making this a big wave and movement for Europe to be at the forefront. So what would you say to each of us that we could do? Because it is, if we have the willingness, the commitment at the personal, individual level, but also at the institutional levels, we can make the change. And it's the little drop in the ocean by all of us. So if you can give a couple of sentences for inspiration and commitment, that could be perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
This is
very much.
an excellent
Sure.
question. Yeah. I would say continue with your commitment, continue with the enthusiasm, keep up the spirit, and don't be discouraged in front of the huge dimension of the task, because this is not the simplest thing to do. And we have seen from the start of the initiative that this is what made the success of the initiative, actually, the commitment of the staff and the people, the true believers, and we in the Commission know that we are also true believers, but we need to now to really have the scale, let's say, conversion. We really to make the difference, to show our political masters, to show the member states, because it is the member states in the end and the European Parliament that will decide. So we need to prove them that the alliances are really worthwhile to continue to be supported, because they really making this change. Continue to stay mobilized for the work of the alliances. Continue to, also very important message, to continue to reach out to your peers in the higher education institutions that are not part of the alliances. They are also part of the higher education landscape. And it is crucial that whatever innovative developments are being produced in the alliances, that they are available and freely accessible to everyone, and they are contributing to this common reflection on the future of the higher education system. And you have, for example, the For You For All as the community of practice of the alliances, which is a vehicle, but also in many member states there are groups of interaction between the alliances and the national higher education institutions. So use those channels, continue to remain mobilized on that front, and this is what will make it a success. And of course, the strategic thinking, it remains really fundamental. We need to make sure that Europe is, continue to remain home of values, competitiveness, yes, AI, you name it, strategic sectors, but we need to keep our values. This is a very important message. Academic freedom, of course, being central to it. Everything that we do has to have this European values dimension, which is our European added value, I think. So thank you so much to everyone. Thank you for all your efforts and the work. And if you ever have questions or suggestions, don't hesitate to reach out. Emilio will share my contact, so I'm fully available. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Iriana, for being there with us and for the inspirational words as well. And we hope to see you soon again in these contexts. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, very good. So I think we've heard quite a lot on the initiative itself. We're also quite behind in time, so we will accelerate, and I will give the floor immediately to Montserrat for the second part, the more testimony-oriented part of our webinar. Thank you, Montse.
Thank you, Emilio. So now it's time to get to know the vision and the experience of some Catholic universities that are part of an alliance. And today we are honored to count on collaborators from 5 different alliances, as you may have seen. So we have the first one, which is EU Peace. with delegates from the Pontificia Universidad Comillas, namely María Amalia Silva de Oliva, Arturo Barona Bosque, and Teresa Morales de la Fuente. The second one is Una Europa, represented by Mariette Vriens from KU Leuven in Belgium. Third one is Unique from Universidad de Deusto, and the delegate is Marian Alaez. We have with us Richard van Wezel as well, who comes from Radboud University, Nijmegen in the Netherlands, and represents the alliance called Neurotech EU. And finally, the last alliance represented today is ACE EU, with Juan Pérez Miranda from Universidad Francisco de Vitoria in Spain. So, well, once again, be all the most welcome. And well, as Emilio said, we are a little bit behind of time, so I will start the panel immediately. And I will start with the first question related to motivation. And so what motivated you to join an alliance or to create an alliance? And I will just leave you the freedom to answer this question. So who would like to take this question? What motivated you to join or create an alliance? Who wishes to share? Richard, great Richard.
Yeah, I can say something from the Radboud University. So this is Neurotech EU, which is a rather relatively special alliance in the sense that's rather topic-wise. So it's about neuroscience, brain, and technology in the widest sense. But that's different from a lot of other alliances that are much broader defined. For neuroscience, neurotechnology in general, it's very interdisciplinary. So these alliances gave us a very good opportunity to work together with a lot of other universities and on this very multidisciplinary topic. So that was one of the main reasons to start with this. And since we are the coordinator, we are also still leading that alliance.
Great, Richard. Does somebody else wish to say something about the motivation, what motivated the university to embark on such an endeavor? Juan Pérez, go ahead, Juan Pérez.
Yes, Juan Pérez Miranda from Francisco de Vitoria University in Madrid. So to keep it short, I would say that our initial interest, our motivation came out of our idea of impacting society and try to transform. So responding to the challenge that we have to influence society in a broader sense, not just in our campus, but together with others. So the idea of impacting and influencing society.
Very well, thank you for being short but precise, Juan Pérez. So let's move on. I would also like to know how your alliances work, how are they coordinated, what is the governance that has been implemented to have a little, bit an idea, or to give a little bit an idea, of what it takes to create an alliance or be part of an alliance. Is it really a burden? Is it a heavy structure? So how are you functioning? Mariette.
Yes, thank you. So I think Una Europa is quite a special alliance in this sense because we already started collaborated before the EU funding became available. So we have established a legal entity, a not-for-profit association under Belgian law already in 2019. Also expressing our strong will to collaborate together and to work on these long-term goals, as was also mentioned in the previous presentation. So we have this not-for-profit association, which also has a secretariat in Brussels, so people that work for the Alliance as a whole. And in terms of government, there is a General Assembly collecting all the rectors of our university, a board of directors, mainly consisting of vice rectors for international policy of the university. We also bring together the vice rectors of education in the teaching and learning strategy group and the vice rectors for research and a research strategy group. So it really shows that the governance of the Alliance is very closely intertwined with the governance of our universities separately. And in every university, you have people like me who are the local lead of the Alliance in the university itself. And then we have, this is linked to the coordination we have of our projects, where the board of directors also acts as the executive committee for the funded projects. And for every project, there is a steering committee. And then last but not least, where the work really happens, we bring together professional staff in clusters. So people that work on themes such as legal issues, quality assurance. This is professional staff we bring together in clusters. And then our academics we bring together in interdisciplinary self-steering committees. So I think there are many other groups, but I think that those are really the different main groups that take care of the governance and of the implementation of the project. And one important thing I forgot to mention is that we also have our Una Europa student board. So that's in a nutshell how we do it.
Thank you, Mariette. Although we don't have a lot of time, I would like to hear about the structure of another alliance that is quite different, just to see this diversity that was mentioned by a policy officer that we invited to intervene today. So is there another alliance with quite a different model, structure, way of functioning? Sure, Arturo Barona, go ahead.
In the case of EUPs, is not as formalized and structured as for Una Europa. We're a much younger alliance. We're only a year and a half old. But we started with the basic governing bodies, the governing board and the steering committee. They were pretty much we started with those basic bodies, and we started with that for the simple reason that we were the people who started together in the proposal. So we knew each other and we knew more or less in which direction we had to go. And little by little, we created this structure that we presented in the proposal with all the different bodies, executive, consultative, strategic, etc. But yeah, we started with a fairly small core team of 2 bodies, and then we started adding other bodies and defining their roles and defining their objectives and even defining their statutes and the way they work along the way. So it's a very different approach. It was very much a bottom-up approach in our case.
Great, thank you, Arturo. And if you had to select one benefit and one challenge that you have encountered so far, which benefit and which challenge would you select? I mean, from being part of an alliance, sure. Mariette, thanks.
I think the main important benefit is for the students. We did manage already to create a number of very unique learning experiences, interdisciplinary, international, intercultural learning experiences for Europa. The most, our flagships are our joint bachelors, interdisciplinary bachelors, which is really a first in Europe. So we're very proud of that. And I think, we see also now the Bachelor in Sustainability will just start, but the Bachelor in European Studies the reactions of the students that are part of this bachelor are really great, and that's really why we're doing this. As far as a limitation, I think at this point, and this was also mentioned in the presentation before, scalability is still something that we really have to focus on in the next phase. So there are opportunities, there are very interesting opportunities for students, for staff, but if we look at the total number of students and staff that we have, it still stays very limited. So this scaling up of these very unique experiences we can offer is, at this point, it's still a limitation, but it's something that we also aim to address in the next phase of Una Europa.
Very well, Marit. So now I will give the floor to Maria Amalia Silva.
Hi, hello. One of the benefits that I see is that since we do have to start new structures and integrate different universities, but also if we have to do everything that we have in the grant agreement, we need to make changes inside our university. So this is the biggest benefit, because we see that a lot of movement that we start in the alliance, they're already integrating in the university and they're day by day, and they're also bringing innovation, new structures, new administrative organizations, or maybe with the researchers. So this is the biggest benefit that I see. But also it comes with challenges, because of course, if we are doing a joint degree, there are all the challenges that we know with the different systems of the universities in what regards the regulation, also credit recognitions, quality assurance, and especially for us in EUPs, we do have universities outside of the European Union, which is Turkey and Bosnia. So this is a big challenge for us for mobilities, because they don't have access directly to Erasmus sometimes, also for integrating a lot of the activities and with the different universities that we have. So these are the two main points.
Great. And I will also give the floor to Juan Pérez Miranda for this question, and then we will move to another one. Juan Pérez.
Yes, very similar to what Maria Amalia said. So the challenge we faced at the beginning, it was just connecting the people from different universities, trying to start with a great commitment from them. It was difficult, but we invest a lot of time, many online meetings, many physical meetings. So, but this investment, which was a challenge because of culture, etc., then immediately paid a benefit, not only with the programs that the Alliance was developing, but also inside the organization, as Amalia said, because we just increased the ability to work collaboratively, so co-creating programs inside the university. And this was one of the benefits. And then the opportunity to enrich the programs we already have, like social engagement, or maybe other programs like our humanistic focus, because we are the only Catholic institution in this network, and the others are basically polytechnic school. So there was like a match. They wanted our experience, and we enriched it from their perspective. So this is a summary of challenges and benefits.
Thank you, Juan Pérez. And to what extent would you say that European university alliances are distinct and unique entities? Of course, well, we saw that our guests from the European Union, from the European Commission, already said some words about this, but I would like to hear your thoughts. So. Would you say that the universities are really unique entities, or for you have not seen such a difference from other forms of collaboration so far? Mariette?
I think what is very unique about Una Europa, and this also has to do, I think, with the fact that we already worked on these joint bachelors, and I mean, was already alluded to the fact that there are a lot of administrative, legal barriers that you have to take when you implement something like this. But it really allowed the universities really to get to know each other very well, how we work, how our educational processes, how our workflows are, culturally the differences, because you have to work together to implement something so complex. You really get to know each other very well, and there is a collaboration that's unique. I think what I always think of is one of my colleagues who worked on this that said, you know, we've never been able to look into the internal cuisine of another university like this. So I think this is, I mean, there are many ways, I think, in which this collaboration is unique, but for me, this is always something that resonated with me. You really need to trust each other, but it's also about building an enormous trust between the partner universities.
Thank you, Mariet. Antonia, I saw that you raised your hand, but I only have one last question, and then we will open the floor for some minutes so that you can interact in spite of the delay. So my last question is, what would you suggest to Catholic universities who are interested in joining One Alliance? So what would be your recommendations? Are there some aspects that should be borne in mind? So this is my last question, and I also grab this opportunity to remind you that next week we have another webinar, and this is just like, you know, like the starter, you know, like in a menu. This is the starter, and then we will have the main dish next Tuesday. So, Marian. I think you are mute, Marian Elias.
No, thank you so much, Mariana Lai from the University of Deusto. So we would highly recommend them to participate in this trend toward European University Alliances, as we think it is important to take part in this transformation. We also believe that despite all the difficulties that we have already seen in this session, participating in an alliance generates some kind of commitment that facilitates networking, which has always been recognized as very important, but has also proved to be very difficult. These two approaches could be valid for any universities, but if we now add the adjective of Catholic, we have new aspects that we think should be taken into account when considering participation. On the one hand, in the context in which we live, a society with great religious diversity, we believe that it is more important than ever for a Catholic university to take care of its identity and to move forward its mission. This does not mean, far from it, not associating with others. We are convinced that living together in this diversity allows us to look at problems from different perspectives and to integrate them into a very productive dialogue. But it should not mean in any case to dilute the identity of what we are and what we represent. For this reason, we believe that the links that join the different universities of the Alliance are important, and we must ensure that these links are put at the service of the identity and mission of our Catholic universities. In the particular case of our university and our alliance UNIC, we found a common context with the partner institutions, cities in post-industrial transition facing similar social challenges. And precisely these social and economic challenges mean a deeper commitment to support inclusion and well-being of super diverse populations in complex urban environments. This unique focus strongly aligns with our Catholic and Jesuit mission, which calls us to engage beyond the borders, beyond the university in this case, and engage meaningfully with society, together with the cities we serve. particularly the active involvement of city councils in UNIC, further enriches the alliance in this way, ensuring that our academic work is embedded and in and responsive to real needs of the society. So to summarize, we would suggest Catholic University to participate in the European alliances, since we think it is a sign of ecclesial participation in the cultural and scientific world, which could be an advantage, perhaps, over the option of an alliance between Catholic peers. And on the other hand, we would suggest them to take conscious care to place both the substance and the formal aspects of the alliance at the service of their identity and mission. Thank you.
Great, Marian. So I think that now we can open the floor, and the first person that wanted to say something was Antonia Caro, right?
Yeah, thank you. You can call me Toni Caro. That's I know the ñ is not the easy in English, but yeah, I wanted to respond to the previous question. You were talking about the uniqueness of being part of an alliance, and I can say that I have been part of putting together UNIC. I have been working at the University of Deusto for more than 20 years. I have been working with other alliances, and we are working now with the preparation of the alliances for what is coming, that is the strong evaluation of the European Commission, because they have listening today to Joanna, and we are working very close with the European Commission, a group of experts, to see how the universities' alliances are delivering. So I know what entails being part of an alliance from inside of the university, but also as a bridge between universities and the European Commission. The uniqueness, it has taken a lot of time for universities in alliances to realize that this was not a project. And I think it was said at the beginning of the session that this is a long-term commitment, a long-term endeavor, and it takes a lot of time. So this uniqueness, it's coming along the waves of alliances, and we are seeing the process and the progress. When the trust, and I think it has been mentioned by some colleagues, the trust among specific people within or among different universities in an alliance is built, and then we are able to reach other levels of collaboration. So then when you build this personal, individual trust, then you are able to really think together what I can share with you, what can I learn from what you are doing, how we can think together in making things better in the coming years, and then the impact of the alliance in my unit, in my everyday work, and in my university, it makes a change. And also what I'm doing makes a change in other universities. So I think the uniqueness of being part of the alliance will come really when we really believe in the long-term commitment beyond this label of being a European University Alliance or the budget that comes with this label, because it's very, very little, as we have seen. I mean, it's not feasible to do all that is required from us with the little money that comes with this instrument. So if we put this focus, then we'll be able to really change the path for our universities and the alliances. And this is the uniqueness.
Great, Antonia. Any more reactions, comments, questions? Don Bosco? something from somebody from Don Bosco International.
Yes. Thank you. I'm Sara Seki, and I'm here on the behalf of Don Bosco International, but especially the Don Bosco University Higher Education Institute that we have. I have a more like technical question, because we are in a situation in which we have kind of 9 university institutes in Europe that they are already coordinated. And we are wondering if some of you, in creating an alliance before, had some universities that they couldn't access Erasmus, how it was said before. We have just one university that has the accreditation. And how did you manage these, this peculiarity that very often are like based on a specific legal status of a Catholic university? Thank you.
So who would like to answer, or at least share his or her experience? That there are not a lot of speakers with us because of the time. Yeah,
No
maybe,
problem. Then it's very specific question
yeah,
as well.
because maybe they didn't encounter this specific issue. They didn't have to handle it. Anyway, as I said, next week we are holding our second webinar, and we will have a lot of time in the second webinar to continue our conversation. So as I can see, well, everybody has to leave, of course. So I think that what we can do is just close today's webinar, if it's fine for you, Emilio, and then we will continue all this dialogue next Tuesday. Is it fine? Do you think it's okay, Emilio?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Montse. Yeah, I'm sorry for the question by Sara, but what we can do is also that we can redirect this question to the Commission official that was with us earlier. So maybe there can be an answer in that respect. But for sure, we can invite everybody to attend next week. And thanks to all that have participated and shared their experience with us.